There's been a massive shakeup in workplace safety that's just rolled out across Kenya. So if you're an employer, a manager, or really any employee, you need to pay attention because these new first aid rules affect you directly. Let's break down exactly what's new and what you need to do to get up to speed.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the new rules themselves. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what's expected from employers and from the first aiders on the ground. We're even going to peek inside the new first aid kits, talk about the new mandatory audit, and then wrap it all up with the key things you absolutely have to remember.
All right, first things first. Let's lay the groundwork. What are these new regulations, really, and why are they such a big deal?
I want you to honestly ask yourself this. If someone got hurt at your office or site, right this second, does your team know what to do? The whole point of these new regulations is to make sure the answer to that question is always a confident yes.
Now, let's be crystal clear about this. These are not friendly suggestions. These are the law for every single workplace. And they don't just update the old rules from 1977, they completely throw them out. We're finally bringing workplace first aid into the modern era.
So we're all speaking the same language. The government has given us a very clear definition of first aid. It's not about playing doctor. It's about that critical, immediate help. To preserve life, stop things from getting worse while you wait for help, and to handle those smaller injuries right then and there.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk to the people who have to make this happen. Employers, business owners, HR managers, listen up. This section is basically your new to-do list.
Your duties really boil down to 4 main things. 1, you have to officially appoint first aiders and pay for their certified training. 2, you've got to provide the right first aid kits and keep them stocked. 3, you need to make sure every worker knows the first aid plan. And 4, you have to put up a notice with the first aiders' names and numbers where everyone can see it. Simple as that.
But wait, there's more. You're also on the hook for making sure your first aiders are vaccinated against things like hepatitis B. You need a solid plan for getting someone to a hospital in an emergency, and here's the big one, the real game changer. You are now required to have a formal first aid audit done every single year.
Okay, we've covered the boss's duties. Now, what if you're the one tapped on the shoulder for this crucial role? Let's look at what it means to be a designated first aider.
As a first aider, you're way more than just the person with the bandages. Of course, you have to respond to emergencies, but you also have to keep meticulous records of what happened, and you're in charge of the kit. And look at that last point, offering psychological support. That shows you how much deeper this goes now. It's about caring for the whole person, not just the physical injury.
And you can't just be a volunteer. This isn't optional. To be a first aider, you must have a valid certificate from a proper training institution. And this is key, that certificate expires. You have to renew it every single year to stay qualified.
The rules are also super specific about how many first aiders you need. It's a simple ratio. So even if you're a tiny business, just a handful of people up to 9 workers, you still need to have at least 1 certified first aider on hand.
And as you'd expect, that number grows with your team. As soon as you hit 10 to 20 employees, the minimum requirement doubles to 2 first aiders.
Now let's jump up to a bigger company. If you have between 51 and 100 people on your payroll, you'll need a whole team of 5 trained and certified first aiders.
And for the really big players out there, the formula is easy to remember. You start with a baseline of 5 for your first 100 employees. After that, you just add 2 more for every extra 100 people you have. It's all about making sure there's always someone ready to help.
So, you've got your certified team ready to go. Great, but what about their equipment? Let's take a look inside the new, legally required first aid kit.
Now get ready for this, because this is probably the single most surprising rule for most people. The regulations state it loud and clear. You are not allowed to have any medicine in the first aid box. That means no painkillers, no antihistamines, nothing. The kit is for first response, not for dispensing drugs.
So, if there's no medicine, what is in there? Well, the rules give you an exact shopping list. Here's just a little sample of what's needed for a workplace of 10 to 50 people. We're talking gauze, different kinds of bandages, plenty of sterile gloves, and resuscitation masks. It's all about immediate care, not medication.
And if your company is a really big one, we're talking over 500 employees, a little box on the wall just isn't going to cut it. You are now required to have a fully equipped, dedicated first aid room. It has to be run by a registered nurse or clinical officer and come with proper gear, like a sink, a couch, and even a blood pressure machine.
We've covered the people and the equipment. So what's the last piece of the puzzle? Accountability.
let's talk about that mandatory annual audit that makes sure all of this is actually happening.
The audit process itself is pretty straightforward. It has to be done every 12 months, period. You have to use an officially approved auditor, and yes, the employer foots the bill. Afterwards, that auditor sends a report to both the company and the government's Director of Safety, which creates a very clear record of whether you're compliant or not.
Okay, I know that was a ton of information, so let's step back and boil it all down into the most important points you need to walk away with.
You know, this slide really says it all. The whole mindset has changed. We're moving away from that old idea of just having a dusty first aid box in the corner. The new way is a complete, living, breathing safety system, one that's built on professional training, clear duties, and is checked every year.
And so as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final question to think about. At the end of the day, following these rules is about more than just avoiding fines. It's about protecting your team. So, is your workplace just going to tick the boxes to be compliant? Or are you going to use this as a chance to build a real, genuine culture of safety and care?